Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a unique knife consult for you. In front of us is the Tashi Bharucha Alien. This is going to be a short video because this knife is a little bit older and it's a full custom knife that not a lot of people have. But it's an interesting knife that came to me by way of my good buddy Walter. He lent me a couple of knives, including the Rowdy High-Tech and the Ferrum Forge Stinger in SM100. I have those videos already published on my channel. This is the last knife that he sent me, and it's taken me a long time to make this video, and that's because I haven't really carried this knife very much. It's because it's really the jewel of his collection, and I didn't want to get it messed up, but I have spent some time playing with it, lightly using it, and so I think that I've formed some opinions on it, and I'd like to just discuss it. If nothing else, I'd love to get another Tashi design on the camera because I'm just going to be honest, I love his design. All of his knives have a very, very nice cohesive design to it, especially his full customs. You can tell that there's art and there's balance and there's function that's built into each one of them, and so I'm thrilled to have gotten this one in hand. I would love to pick up a custom Tashi one of these days. His work just continues to get better and better. This is a unique knife. As I'm sure you noticed when I flipped it around, it has crap written on the back of it. And I'm not exactly sure what that means. I still don't to this day. But what I do know that it signifies is that this knife was not quite good enough to make it out to the general public. Tashi has some knives that, for whatever reason, are not quite perfect. This one had a little bit of lock stick, and I think it ever so slightly favors the lock side right there, and because of those reasons he actually kept this as a personal user for a while. Walter was able to pry this out of his fingers, I believe, at a show one time, but it's interesting to me to see what knife makers do with their sort of seconds or imperfect knives. But let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically so we know what we're looking at. Up front is a 3.5 inch blade if you're measuring from the end of the scales. You've got about a 3¼ inch blade of cutting length right there of CPM 154 steel. This is a very popular steel amongst custom knife makers. It's easy to work with, it has good corrosion resistance, and it holds a decent edge for a while. I've had a few knives in CPM 154 and it's performed really well. I can't complain about that. It's done in a beautiful hand-rubbed satin finish all around. Beautifully, beautifully done. It's got his somewhat ostentatious logo on the front there. Tashi really loves to put his big logo on everything. I think that the Rowdy High-Tech was one in particular that had a ridiculously big logo on it. This crap, of course, kind of messes up the back of the blade, but if you know the story behind it, it gives it a little bit of unique flair to it. But the blade itself is super functional. It's hollow ground, and so it becomes extremely thin behind the edge, and it slices very nicely. The Tashi style is very much like a Santoku Japanese style cutting knife. I finally learned the word for that one. Thanks, Tony, for reminding me of that one. But it's where the blade sort of drops down below where the handle sits, and it allows for a very functional knife. This works really, really nicely. You can get all the way down to whatever you're cutting without your fingers really hitting the board first, and so I do appreciate that a whole lot. It's a beautiful, beautiful Wharncliffe blade, just so nicely done. Moving back, it does run on ball bearings, and it's got a nice flipper tab. Tashi always has these somewhat prominent and long flipper tabs, but they always work really nicely. The detent is immaculate on this knife. Absolutely perfect. It really only opens in that one way. Of course, you can open it like this, but it really only opens in that one way. And now I'm getting fingerprints all over it for my video. So there is that. Let's clean it off for you guys. It runs very, very smoothly. There is the very slightest hint of sort of, I won't call it lock stick, but sort of just some grittiness to it. Again, this is not representative of his final production custom models. He makes sure that none of that stuff is there, so I'm not going to really hold that against him on this knife in any way. Moving back to maybe my favorite part of the knife is the handle here. These beautifully contoured pieces of titanium. Just super, super smooth right here. And the way that they come together to form the back of the knife, it almost looks like an integral. There is a titanium back spacer, but there is no sense of the transitions between those pieces. It feels like an integral. It's got that solid feel of those integral knives, and I do like that. Super comfortable in the hand. I will say it's a little bit short for my hand. I probably wouldn't have chosen this for myself simply because my hand doesn't get the best grip on this knife. If you have a somewhat smaller hand, it might be better for that reason, but it is quite comfortable. I will say that this provides a very small... Sorry, I cut my finger the other day. I apologize about that. There's a bit of a hot spot right here. There's a bit of a non-rounded edge at the back of the clip, so when you're kind of gripping the knife, that's kind of pushing. It's not painful, but it's just you feel it, and it's not quite as smooth as the rest of the knife. Speaking of the pocket clip, you've got a relatively deep carry clip here. It actually only shows a small amount of the knife, just enough to pull it out of the handle, or pull it out of the pocket, and it's a great clip. It's got a nice amount of spring to it. It's easy to work with, and it will hold anything from scrubs to jeans in there. And he's done something that I absolutely love. So many knife makers put their lock bar cutouts right underneath the lip of their clips. That's the 0606. Even my beloved 0392s are pretty much like that. So many knives have that problem where the clip goes right over the lock bar cutout. That one's not quite as bad, but it's still there. Let's see, here's another hinderer that does it. But what he's done is he's put the clip above the lock bar cutout, so it actually only rides on the flat part of the handle there, and that's brilliant because you're never going to get your pocket stuck in the lock bar cutout when you're trying to take it out of your pocket. It just won't happen. And I think more knife makers need to be more attuned to this process and put their clip in a more functional position just like this one. So props to Tashi for recognizing that and making not only a beautiful clip, but an extra functional clip. And so let's go ahead and bring out some of these other knives that I had for a size comparison. Here's another Wharncliffe right here, Hinderer MP1. I'll bring out my 0606 BLK, a much bigger knife. Let's bring out a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. My purpose-bought size comparison knife. So it's a nice size, this knife. It's not too bad. It's super easy to carry. It's a nice size. It's a bit chunky. Here's a J. Kobach Kwaiback right here. I just like bringing out funky knives to compare this to. How about a Michael Ziba double tap right here, S2 double tap right there. Just some weirdo knives. I've got a, here's a Spyderco for you, a Spyderco Rescue. Just some random knives for you guys to look at. I like also putting some of this jewelry out here. Here's a Les Voorhees model right here, a 112. Here's a Ferrum Forge Mass Drop Falcon right here, just so you can kind of see, maybe you know a couple of these knives and what the sizes are. So what do I think about this knife? I think it's excellent. I don't think I would have purchased this knife because it's not quite the right size for my hand, but it makes me more excited about Tashi's work. What I can feel in this knife is the overall quality. It's super, super nice. It locks up like a bank vault. It sounds like a Mercedes-Benz door when it's opening and closing. That sort of clunk, that padded but solid feel of a bank vault door closing. I don't know how to describe it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful knife, and I really appreciate the opportunity to carry and to use this and just to experience it. I've come very close to picking up a few of Tashi's designs. This, again, is the Alien. I'm super tempted by the Fox Knives Phoenix. If anyone has one of those and wants to send one to me to review, that's a knife that's way up on my list of things that I almost bought, but I'd like to see it in hand first. But in any case, thanks guys for watching. Click like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think about this Tashi Bharucha Alien. Oh, I almost forgot. Look at the milling here. This goes straight through the handle. You can see. That's beautiful. Let me know what you think of this knife. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Go check out Tashi's work. He's active on Instagram. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Beautiful, beautiful knife. Coming straight out of France for your viewing pleasure. So thanks guys for watching, and as always, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.